1980s.
I'm sorry. I was having a hallucination.
This is episode 259, recorded May 16th, 2024.
Gruesome Magazine.
My name is Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1980 and 1989. Each episode, my co-hosts Bill Mulligan, Crystal Cleveland, and Chad Hunt and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this radical, gory, influential, and gruesome decade. Unfortunately, tonight, Crystal Cleveland could not be with us. I was looking forward to hearing what she had to say about this. But you do have Chad Hunt, comic book artist and co-host of Decades of Horror, the All of Them. How you doing, Chad?
I am fantabulous.
Good word. It's a good word. And last but not least is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, co-host of Decades of Horror, the 1970s, and a published author. Raw.
Yes. Thank you very much.
R-A-U-M.
R-A-U-M. Ask for it by name. No, just get it from Amazon.
Anyway, yeah, it's good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, good to see you.
You know,
Fit
this
as a
has
fiddle.
been one of those years we've had we've been juggling hosts like crazy for like the last 3 months. So Scott Wells is nice enough to join us for Crystal's spot here to sub on this flick. And he's been on a couple other episodes, King of the Zombies and the Queen of Black Magic for 80s, King of the Zombies for classic era. So, and Scott has the Saturday Man Theater Facebook group. So you all should check that out. How you doing, Scott?
I'm all right. And I would like to apologize to everybody who tuned in to see Crystal. I know I'm not the substitute for her, but you know.
All right. So as everybody knows by now, Decades of Horror and Gruesome Magazine are partnering with Play Now Media on several of their streaming channels. In fact, Decades of Horror, the 1980s and the 70s and the classic era are on the Wicked Horror TV channel. So you could check us out there. You can subscribe to them for nothing and watch with ads, but you will miss premium content. But if you pay the monthly fee, and then you will get to see everything without commercials. So they got a lot of nice movies there.
They do.
So check them out. All right. On this podcast, we usually start by giving a few basic details of the film we're covering, followed by each of our first impressions of the movie, and then we'll move into a general discussion after we do some taglines of whatever trips our trigger. And this one should be interesting. So, spoiler alert. How old is this movie? Like 35 years old, right? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So if you haven't seen this and you don't want to have it spoiled, because I didn't get what was going on till like the end of the movie, or maybe even the second time around. But
you watched it twice?
I actually watched it 3 times.
There you go.
Our topic is Sangre, 1989, directed by Alejandro Jodorowsky, written by Mr. Jodorowsky and Roberto Leoni and Claudio Argento. Cast includes Axel Jodorowsky, Blanca Guerra, Guy Stockwell, Velma Tixu, Sabrina Dennison, Aden Jodorowsky, Fabiola Alenka Tapia, and Teo Jodorowsky. It was a family thing.
Oh, yeah.
Production companies were Productora Filmica Real and Produzioni Intersound. It was filmed at Estudios Churubusco Azteca and around there in Mexico City. So they started filming September 3rd, and the shoot was 8 to 10 weeks. Release date, November 24th, 1989 in Italy, and March 30th, 1990 in the U.S. The budget is estimated at $780,000 $787,000. And the synopsis: a former circus artist escapes from a mental hospital to rejoin his armless mother, the leader of a strange religious cult, and is forced to enact brutal murders in her name as he becomes her arms.
And that ain't all that happens.
Wielding psychopath, her arm wielding psychopath. Oh God. All right. No, that isn't. But one of the things that happens is this guy is a character, the lead character. And at one point, there's a shot that I just loved, especially being from the classic era. He's dressed as the Invisible Man. He's watching the Invisible Man. There's a large Invisible Man poster on the wall behind the TV. And he then takes a serum trying to become invisible, and oh no, it doesn't work.
What are the
anyway,
odds?
And why he wants to become invisible is even stranger. So
there were quite a few little homages going on there.
Yeah. So this was pretty cool. I like that. So I pulled this up as a picture. Shortly after this, he unwraps his head. But all right.
If you look very carefully in that scene, there's actually an invisible man. But you got to look real careful.
You got to squint really hard.
Well, this one is Bill's pick. So we're going to go to first impressions. And Bill, when did you first see this? Why did you pick this? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I first saw this about a week ago. As to why I picked it. So many years ago, back in the 80s, I was had a crush on a college girl in my college, and there was a local theater that would show lots of different movies, different double or triple feature every day, little repertoire theater. And she wanted to go see, I think it was El Topo and maybe The Magic Mountain. I did not have a great time. I had a good time with her, but I was not paying attention to the movies, which just seemed very artsy fartsy, and I just could not get into it all. My ex-wife used to joke about El Topo because that was one she went to see too. So I didn't really have great feelings about Mr. Jodorowsky, other than the Dune project, which is a cool movie if you see that, but he just seems like a lunatic. Just seems like a crazy man trying to make these movies that make no sense and, whatever. But I saw some images from this that looked really cool. And I'm like, you know what? Let's spin the wheel and see how it came out. And I just want to say, this is one of my favorite movies of 2024 that I've, seen for the first time. I loved it. I had a great time. It's gorgeous. Okay. Yes, it's crazy. It's a Jodorowsky film. Of course it's crazy. It was made, by a lunatic on peyote. But it's so visionary and beautiful imagery, beautiful color, crazy plot. I didn't know where it was going. I could not predict anything that, what was going to be the next thing, but it held together, which, as I remember, The Magic Mountain just didn't for me. There is a narrative here. It's not just a bunch of weird stuff strung together. It's got a lot of weird stuff and it is strung together, but it tells a story.
Mm-hmm.
I just really enjoyed it. And all the things, if you described this movie to me ahead of time, like, oh, by the way, he's got his son playing the main character and the young version of that is his younger son. I'm like, well, this is going to reek. This just sounds like a bunch of nepotism and craziness. Nah, this is great. I like to cut music videos together from horror movies and stuff just for my own amusement. And man, this is definitely, there's shots in here that are definitely going into those projects because gorgeous. It's worth seeing. The best print you can find. I think I saw it on Shudder and it's a good print. But if you want to spring for the Blu-ray, you're only going to get so much quality out of Alien Factor or Just Before Dawn, but man, this one, besides the behind the scenes stuff, this would be worth seeing in the best quality you can find. I really liked it. Now, is it for everyone? Absolutely not. If it turns out that I'm the only one here who liked it, I will accept that as that's the price you pay for picking a weirdo film. But boy, I don't know. Sure hit me at the right time, I guess, because I really enjoyed this. Can't wait to watch it again, actually.
All right. Well, Scott, what did you think of this? And thanks again for jumping in on this.
Yes, thanks, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. So
on short notice. So
no problem. Well, I first saw this yesterday. When I found out that you needed somebody to fill in. I have never seen a Jodorowsky film before. I was a little familiar with him mainly from his comic works like Meta Barons and the Incal, which were some graphic novel things that were published in Europe and has had some release here in the States. And also, oddly enough, his work with tarot cards. I have a small collection of tarot decks myself, and he is actually responsible for recreating the earliest version of the Tarot of Marseille. He spent like 10 years working on that, trying to find the oldest of these cards and everything. So I knew of him as being a very mystical and surrealist kind of artist or visionary. So when I sat down to watch this, I kind of expected that much of it. But I was not expecting the kind of depth and layers of symbolism that are in this film. As Bill said, there's a lot of really striking images, but there's also a lot of just concepts and stuff like that are not called out specifically, but they're there in the images and in the scene constructions and things like that. And I am not a huge fan of horror movies about killers, about murderers, ordinary murderers. But this one kept me engaged through the whole thing. And what's more is I kept thinking about it the next day. It stuck with me. And I do like that about films, is it the ones that really make me think about it and dig into the ideas and the imagery and the story and everything that is going on within it. So I ended up, I still don't know whether I liked it or not, but it's definitely a memorable film, and it's definitely one I'm going to be continuing to think about for quite some time. And probably will be some time before I can figure out whether I actually like it or not. So.
Alrighty. Chad, how about you? You texted us last night or Tuesday night, I guess it was.
Yeah, I did, and I was like, I was not looking forward to it. I'll be honest, because I've seen El Topo, and that is just not my kind of film. It's like a movie, a Western on acid type of film, but I remember reading about Santa Sangre in Fangoria. Actually, they were doing a spot on Jodorowsky in there, and featuring Santa Sangre, and a lot of my friends were talking about it and this and that, wasn't so. But I passed on it. It just I can't stomach art films. I just can't. It's just hard for me to. And I want a monster and naked women running from monsters and getting their heads lopped off and lots of blood and gore. That's my thing. And but this movie, and especially when I started to play it and it was 2 hours long, I was going, there's no way in hell. There's just no way in hell I'm going to last through this. And unfortunately, I watched it on a Shudder, and then I went over to Tubi to see if they had a fast forward feature, but neither one does, to play it at double speed or whatever. So I was forced, Jeff,
To watch it at normal speed.
to watch it at normal speed for 2 effing hours, and come to find out that I really like this film a lot.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it actually where El Topo is just out there symbolism, da 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 da. This, like Bill said earlier, this has a narrative. It told a story. I was a little afraid at first because I didn't really understand what was going on with the circus and all that kind of stuff, and the religion, the church being tore down, and that kind of thing. And but actually found myself enjoying it, and I did enjoy it. It was a very well made film. It's beautiful, beautifully shot. I mean, beautiful. And I'm sure this copy that they showed on Tubi and Shudder were from the Blu-ray. It had to be. It was just perfect. And but the characters were interesting. Phoenix was or Phoenix, however, I don't know. I heard it said 2 different ways. But a very interesting character. The father was an interesting. All the characters were like, you really got into the characters, and what they were about. So I did. I loved the story. I loved the way it was shot. It was beautifully shot. The theme of the story, the mother with no arms, and the son becomes her arms, and then the ending, which probably I didn't figure the ending out until the very end. I mean, I don't know if we're going to spoil this yet, but or it was closer to the end when I figured, hey, this guy must be Looney Tunes, so yeah, it's I really did enjoy it. I'm surprised at myself for liking it as much as I did.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, the 2 hours was putting me off a little bit, and the other side of that is it isn't so much that 2 hours is so long. It's just we're so conditioned to watch like 80 to 90 minute movies.
Yeah.
2 hours, I know I'm gonna have to focus, and I know that this is not going to be a straightforward like action thriller to follow. So anyway, I loved it, but I was like WTF and through the whole movie, because I really did not know what was going on. It starts off with a scene in the film's present, and then goes to a flashback right away and spends some time there, and then comes back to the present. And I didn't quite get the significance of what happened to him, but I did later. So yeah, great visuals. I absolutely loved the elephant coffin. I just was like, oh my God. And there was just so many things. There was that church, the symbols on their robes for the church, and their patron saint who had her arms ripped off. And so the symbol is 2 arms hooked, making an X, double X's kind of. It was just the strangest stuff. They put the tattoo on the kid's chest using a knife. And then the whole, the dance routine, him using his arms, acting as her hands, that at first it's one of those, you're looking at it and it looks great, but yet something's not quite right. Mm-hmm. You kind of see his head behind her, but wow, was it well done.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could go on and on, but I there's so many different parts, but as I figured out what happened, then sort of the symbolism about it made much more sense, and I could follow what it was he was trying to say, and what at least some of the symbolism meant, I think. So that's but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it not only is it on Blu-ray, there's a is it Severn or is it Vinegar Syndrome? I don't remember. There's a Blu-ray, but there's also like a 4-disc 4K ultra high def from the same company. I'll look it up before we get too far. But I'm thinking it's Severin. All righty. Well, it is now time to get a little better idea of what this movie is about with
Yeah, right.
There it goes.
taglines with Chad.
Oh my God. Okay, taglines for Santa Sangre are as follows. A startling vision of passion and obsession from the creator of El Topo. Truth.
You know, I want to see that, but now that you guys are talking about it, I'm not so
It's
sure.
it's very odd. It's
Well,
just
I knew that. But.
You
too
thought there was
deliberately
symbolism in this.
It doesn't have the beautiful cinematography that this has.
You might like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he's on a horse, so it's kind of there's a Western.
Well, there's
yeah.
also a naked boy on the horse with him, but
Oh, well, there you go.
Wow.
okay. On with the taglines. An astonishing film, a surreal fantasy about violence, revenge, and murder.
Fair.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. A Molotov cocktail of sex, flesh, and horror.
Well,
like
that's
that.
evocative.
Yeah.
It should have had more in there, like waiting to explode on the screen in flames. Okay. A fantasy that intertwines worlds of nightmare and reality, violence and eroticism, horror and beauty. It is Santa Sangre.
See, I would avoid using words like intertwines in my, in my poster because people got to look it up.
I tried to look up what that was in that brown jar she threw on his private, so I can
Ooh.
avoid that from
Yeah.
the rest of my life.
Some sort of acid.
Yeah, sulfuric acid. Yeah.
Who leaves that lying around?
I don't know.
Why
but
do they
there's
have it at a circus?
There's always a bottle of it around when somebody needs one.
Yeah.
All right. And this is what they were telling everybody after the movie was over. Forget everything you have ever seen.
The famous tagline, I guess. And that's been Taglines with Chad,
So cute.
as played by Chad his own self.
Hmm.
All right.
Except no substitutes.
The man himself.
The man himself.
It is
All
the
right.
man himself.
So
That's my Keanu from Dracula. Bram Stoker's Dracula. It is
we
the
got a
man
lot of
himself.
posters. We got a lot of posters here. So
This is one of those movies that inspires posters.
it does. It does.
Oh,
That's
very
the one I
vivid, so.
remember seeing the most.
Yeah.
I like that one. That's gorgeous. So.
And there's a version of that without the yellow on the Blu-ray. It's the cover of the Blu-ray, but I think it has white background, like it's basically black and white.
I like this poster now, but when I first saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, Jodorowsky and probably a bunch of mimes just doing this for 90 minutes.
Well, there were mimes, but
There were.
And that is the elder Alma in her black tutu and tights and white face paint and a little black, I don't know, Spanish, Mexican headdress kind of.
Now she's my favorite
headpiece.
character in the movie. I love Alma.
yes,
Oh, she is. She is.
absolutely, yes.
But it's interesting. It's evocative, as they say. And here's one. I don't know what this one is.
Must be from another country
Must be
because it's
Italian.
Un
film D.
film de.
Yeah.
Is that French then?
Claudio.
Looks kind of
Argento
Italian.
presents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Yeah, we got the wings. We got your wings. I don't know where the wings. Well, we do have wings, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Speaking of
wings all
which,
over the place.
I got to ask you about that at some point, but not right now. All right. And post numero 30, that would appear to me to be
Memento?
Spanish.
Yeah.
NLK El Diablo.
Hey, stop.
I should have translated that. That could have been another tagline.
Nah, that's okay.
But that's similar in a way, just a lot of different. It's red background, but with a like a sculpture of a woman's body, partially unclothed, but it's all red.
No
And then we
arms.
have the young mother.
Japan or somewhere in Asia. This is what they went with.
I like it.
I like it too. It's insane, which is on point.
Who did it first, her or Miley Cyrus?
Oh wow.
What is she sitting on?
A wrecking ball.
Oh, okay.
It actually looks like a billiard ball, only larger than the ones I'm used to working with.
And I have no idea why we have 4 versions of Axel on the bottom. Or I too am not sure how to call them, Phoenix or Phoenix. It does translate to the Phoenix, which makes sense. A lot of the
tattoo
names
was, wasn't it? Phoenix or
That's cool. This looks like for a DVD release.
4K.
Yep.
restorated.
Can you imagine what it looks like in 4K? Wow.
Boy, put this on a double feature with Suspiria, and I'll park my carcass right in that theater for the weekend.
This one's really striking, I think.
Yeah,
I like that one.
We've got the mother and the tattooed woman in the red cross. It looks more like splattered or somebody painted or something, and the chorus behind her. That's nice. I want a poster like that. But okay.
That would look good on the wall.
And that's not even the half of them. I mean,
oh no, there's so many, but a lot of them are like people inspire, just filling up the internet with good art. I mean, good stuff. Yeah, you could paper your whole house with Santa Sangre inspired art.
So let's we've been mentioning this director.
Look into my eye.
Crazy man, visionary, just I guess I just got a little turned off reading an interview in some magazine where he was talking about El Topo, and it sounded like I don't know if this guy is just sniffing his own farts here or if he's genuinely out of his mind.
Yes, both.
Yeah. I agree with Scott. A little bit of both.
But I believe he's like the definition of eccentric.
Very eccentric. And then when people started exploring his Dune, which was one of the most influential movies never made, because even though I don't think it came even close to being made, there's no way that the plans could have ever reached fruition. But they put a lot of money into it and assembled a great crew that then ran off and did Alien. So a lot of the great science fiction that we know from that time owes something to this unmade, never could be made movie. So that's pretty cool. And he did this, which again, this is solid. He is still alive. Now he's older than dirt at this point. And still talking about maybe making they keep threatening the Sons of El Topo. Which will probably be played by his great-grandchildren. I mean, wow.
He didn't make much for quite a while there after the Dune thing fell through until this one.
Yeah.
But then he's been a lot more active, I think, over the last 20 years. Not as much as a lot of people, but more than he had been.
Yeah. I mean, even that image on the bottom, that's from Magic Mountain, which, again, so part of the problem was the theater we saw this in. Also, I think we were the only people that were not lighting up non-domestic tobacco.
Oh.
And that just isn't my scene. So there's that too. But it's striking imagery. there's some really good imagery. So maybe I need to watch it again, this time not through a skunky haze.
He's very visual. I mean, just as I said, he does work in the comics medium too, and everything is very very unique, very striking. So
he is 95. Yeah, so we talked about this offline, I guess, but during the time when he wasn't making any movies, he spent 5 years studying under Marcel Marceau, and he joked about not being a very good mime. Like, he worked his way up to the guy who could hold up the placards. But he apparently his vision and creativity, he started giving Marceau ideas for skits or whatever you would call that for the mime. That sounded interesting. And then his son, Axel Cristobal, who goes by Cristobal now, but was Axel back then, spent 3 years studying mimes and a lot of other things. So you can really see that in the movie, these fluid hand movements. And so we'll see some pictures of that later. But you could see it in his directing, and the way he looks at people and how he wants them to move, I think, and the colors, etc. The genesis of this movie actually comes from that graphic or comic strip that he was doing.
There was
something he was doing.
Yeah,
because
he did he said that in I believe we saw the same documentary which was interviewing it. He actually said for like 3 years he was making a living in this, apparently doing this weekly comic for some right-wing magazine or newspaper that I forget what it was called.
Yeah, I do too.
But it was apparently he was sitting in the bar after work one day, and a guy came up and sat down next to him and started talking to him about that strip. And he introduced himself, and it turned out to be this guy that had killed like 17 women.
Wow.
And he was just like, didn't you kill these people? Oh yeah, but I'm better now.
Good. But there's a 17-minute documentary about this guy on the Blu-ray. So this is how stuff gets blown up. If you look that guy up, his name was I forget what his real first name was, but his shortened first name was Goro Cardenas. And in the 40s, he was convicted of killing 4 women. So if you look him up on like Wikipedia and stuff, that's all they ever talk about. Murder.com, any of those websites, all it says is the 4 people. But Jodorowsky said 17. The guy that did the little piece on him said 17 to some people say 30. But they found him buried in his backyard. They were all young prostitutes, like 15 to 19, I think. And he strangled them. And then he goes to prison. And so this is, in a way, it's kind of the story that's in the movie, because he as a genesis educates himself. I think he becomes a lawyer. And they finally let him out after, I think it's like 30 years in prison. And he's touted as a victory of the prison rehabilitation system. So anyway,
so was Norman Bates.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that during this whole movie, actually going, wow, this has got some real psycho vibes.
But it kind of fits his actual character, right? I mean,
yeah.
Anyway, and creepy looking too.
Yeah.
So if you got the Blu-ray, check it out. It's like 17 minutes, I think, and they don't censor the pictures.
Gory details.
Yeah, the forensics pictures from the site when they dig the bodies up. So, and he claimed to not remember what he did and stuff like that. So,
okay,
it's interesting in how it relates to the movie and how he's just sitting in this restaurant or bar, and this guy comes over and says, "Hey, I really like your comic strip," and starts talking to him, and he figures out who he is, and that's what kind of gave him the idea. It started percolating, I guess. Very interesting character. The since then, now he's done. He has 14 credits as a writer and 12 as a director. But you're right, Scott, too. I read that, too, about Tarot. He was making his living off Tarot readings and giving talks on how to read Tarot.
Yeah.
For a while as well. So he's not a guy. He said, "I don't make movies to make money. I make movies for me." And, I'm not going to pop. I'm not one of those guys going to pop one out every other year to make a living. So, all righty.
It's kind of like, if I have something to say, I'll make a movie. So,
right. Well, I have something to say. I haven't had anything to say for a while.
Although, wouldn't it be fun if you had some crap IP, some series that no one gives a rat's ass about? The Howling, okay? Would it be Jodorowsky's The Howling 8? I was like, okay, I'm definitely renting that the day it comes out.
The 3-hour epic, werewolf epic.
Werewolves and mimes.
The origin story of the first
armless werewolf.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've kind of talked about these people. So we have, there's a flash. We start off with, maybe I should show him first. Let's see. Here's the older Phoenix, who is Axel Jodorowsky. But we start off with him naked in a cell with a tree, thinking he's a bird.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, here we go.
Here we go. 2 hours of my life.
Yeah. How much longer? An hour and 59 minutes? Okay.
Well, they did a pretty good job, though, of concealing the angle of the dangle there. As the way he twirled around and dropped down and stuff. But yeah, I didn't get that the first time either. I'm like, what's going on? They show him a human food and he doesn't. He just sits there and looks at him. And then they bring out a raw fish. And then he squawks and jumps out of the tree and starts eating it, which was, I guess, when he got the eagle food, then
he was good. Again, it was like, I wouldn't expect great acting from the son of the director. That's usually usually doesn't work out, but no, he was really good and a wide range. I like that bottom shot. He's kind of got an Udo Kier thing going on there, but very intense.
Yeah.
This would have been very easy to overact.
Yeah,
because it's so crazy and all. But no, I thought he hit the notes just right on this, and
very subdued. This kind of, like Bill's saying, this could have been easily an over the top performance, considering the material that you're dealing with there. But he played it very, very on low key.
There were times when he moved into that kind of very theatrical presentation, but that made sense for his character too. So,
well, and in conjunction with the mime too. So the whole thing with his, I was really glad I had looked up the thing about him being a mime, because it made a lot of sense. What you watch, like the scene in the middle. Mm-hmm. And so his mother would wear these gowns and he would come up behind her and stick his hands. She didn't have any arms, so he would stick his hands through, I guess they had holes in the back to become the arms. And he had these bright red nails on his fingers and would, touch it. You've seen comedy acts like that or other types of acts, but this one was amazing. And they were tied together, and so Scott, do you remember what they said about how they stayed together?
Yes, when they had to move, apparently Jodorowsky told her in order to make sure that he would move appropriately at the same time as her, she was supposed to reach her arms down and grab him by the testicles. And guide.
But she's got her arms behind her anyway to kind of hide it. So
And the son was just like, yeah, she was doing that.
So when she moved, I moved.
So,
That's probably why he was so good. I mean, you don't want to do multiple takes.
so-
Let's get it right the first time.
Crazy stuff. Crazy
Man.
stuff. So
Thanks, Dad. Thanks for the direction, Dad.
I will also point out that apparently after the film was over with, his son went to Bali and hid in the jungle for a month and refused to talk to his dad. So
they got in a big fight somewhere.
yes.
Yeah.
far away from
Wow.
the
No,
movie.
it's like, I don't blame him, really.
They didn't talk to each other.
Sure, they had
The
interesting
director would
dynamic.
say, "The director wants you to do this." Well, tell the director that.
Hey, I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong here, but if I had to guess, I would say that the senior Jodorowsky had a horrifying childhood because man, the dads in this movie are awful. The moms in this movie are pretty awful.
He made the comment a couple times that they made the agreement. He and his sons made this agreement that while the movie was on, that we're not father and son. I'm director, you're the actor, and we're gonna keep it that way. That's and he also talked about how focused he was on that, and that he was. I think he admitted he could be kind of an asshole.
Yeah, he did. And I think, speaking to your point, Bill, I believe he said, didn't he say that his father was actually the strongman in a circus or worked in the circus or something like that?
Sounds right.
I believe he said that he had worked, and so they would go, and when the circus would come into town, the clowns all knew his father and would come and talk to him and things like that. So I think there's a little bit of autobiography in this film
Sure.
too.
Oh yeah.
So
All right. Well, his
little therapy. Yeah.
His I don't know what you want. I don't know what order to show these in, because I always feel like I'm having to back-explain. So let's go with so here's let's do the tattooed lady here. Thelma Tixou, Tixou. And that was quite a story. Anyway, did you guys get a look at the tattoos? I mean,
oh yeah.
Suddenly, Chad's interest perked right up.
Yeah.
Maybe this movie would be so bad after
I
all.
wasn't so interested in fast forwarding it at this segment. Yeah.
well, I thought it was interesting. They had above her top, she has this pink sort of like sequined or rhinestone G-string, and the same thing with a top. The exposed part of her breasts are painted like ocean waves, and then there's like a mermaid perched like right in the middle.
Who needs to look at them when you have all the clowns and everybody going, "Oh, the ocean!" Ah,
That's true. That's true. The clowns were gathered around her, reciting what all the different things were. So yeah, she was pretty tattooed.
yeah, I kept thinking of Lydia, the tattooed lady from
Yeah,
Mark.
yeah, yeah.
During that whole
was
thing. So-
literally going through my head.
so-
Lydia. Yeah. I mean, she's so striking, and probably, when I think I remember that Fangoria article, she figures prominently in it because, it's such a great visual.
mhm.
Mhm.
She had a pretty integral part to the story there with
Mhm.
how the whole thing with the affair between her and his father and the mother catching them, that was where everything sort of snapped for
Really
him.
the trigger. Yeah.
Yeah, and turned the wrong way.
I mean, she's a terrible person. Having the affair was the least of her crime. She's pimping out her own daughter. It's just like a terrible, terrible person. And as to be expected, comes to a bad end.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to pull that picture of because I found a picture of a close up of when she really did stand up there and have people throw knives at her. It wasn't the
Crazy.
fake
Oh.
type of knife throwing, where
They were apparently originally going to put a dummy up there, and she actually went to Jodorowsky and said, "Why don't you just let me go up there?"
And he said, "That's crazy. Let's do
I
it."
love it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, he talked a lot about wanting to keep everything as real as possible. So,
Oh my God, yeah, but did they really? And we're going to use real acid on Guy Stockwell's private area.
that would have been.
Hey, nobody told me this was going to happen.
Okay, so speaking of Guy Stockwell, so this was the guy that the tattooed lady was having an affair with, and Guy Stockwell, and who's his more famous brother, I would say,
Dean.
Dean?
Yep.
Wow. I'll bet he beat up Dean a lot when they were kids.
I know he got all the food at the table. I know that. That guy is just a wall of human flesh. He is so big. He looks like a pro wrestler almost in this outfit.
Yeah, and I had never seen him at that size. This is what I remember it as. I'm going to cover everybody up here, but that's him on the right in a movie called High Plainsman.
He looks just like his brother there.
He does, yeah.
I believe Abby Dalton played Calamity Jane, and Don Murray was one of them was Wild Bill Hickok, and I forget what character he played actually.
Probably the bad guy though. He's got a mustache.
But yeah, so when I looked and I'm like going, where the hell is Guy Stockwell? I thought he was in here. When's he going to show up? I did not get it. So that movie there came out in the 60s. I actually remember seeing that at the theater.
20-some years later.
He does a pretty good job, I think, of being this big
scary.
Fat guy.
Oh yeah.
So Guy Stockwell plays Buffalo Bill Cody in The Plainsman, and Don Murray plays Wild Bill Hickok, and Abby Dalton is Calamity Jane, and that movie was 1966. So 22 years before this was filmed. And he died I think he died in the mid-90s from diabetes, they said, or complications from diabetes. So
what? He didn't take care of himself? Jeez.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell that by the movie.
Oh. And yet it doesn't seem, although he's not exactly anyone's idea of, a handsome leading man, I could see where the tattooed lady would go for him. They both have this toxic, it's like he's toxic masculinity, she's toxic femininity. I mean, yeah, that definitely would seek each other out.
Yeah, there's some
trash finds trash.
There you go.
So you kind of see. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I did like the fact that the circus was named the Circus del Gringo because it was his circus, so it's the white guy circus. So
yeah, I saw that too. I was like, is that really the name of that?
The white guy.
Well, he has the affair with his with the tattooed lady, his wife, who's performing as part of her son's magic act. I forget, what do they call him? How old was he? So many year old magician. Phoenix the Magnificent or something.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But Bianca Aguera is his mother. The colors in this movie are just so cool.
Oh, yeah, beautiful colors.
So she's part of the magic act, and she appears out of this glass box, and then they hook something to her hair and hoist her up. She's hanging by her hair, and while she's clear up in the air, she sees her husband making out with the tattooed lady over in the corner. So she goes after him later on, and something happens there.
He hypnotizes her, which I didn't really get.
Is that what he did? I
think
thought
so.
It almost seemed like the tattoo on his chest like caused her to like swoon or something.
Oh, guess.
Must have been hypnotized.
I think so. Yeah, because certainly wasn't dazzled by his handsome good looks. But...
He's like flashing the knife at her too.
Yeah.
As he's doing it.
Oh, okay.
I believe the son does that later on too. He kind of repeats that same pattern.
Ah.
Do you remember when you were a kid, you really believed that that's how hypnosis worked, and you could, in the back of a comic book, you could get the hypno coin and just gaze into. Doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. I got it slapped out of my hands a few times.
Take out the bullies.
Yeah.
You will go walk in traffic. Ow.
So in the meantime, this is the young Phoenix, who is Adam Jodorowsky, a younger son. He's got 4 sons in this movie and 1 daughter-in-law, at least. And that's when he's getting ready to put the tattoo on his chest to make him a man.
That scene didn't go on too long.
Just like his dad.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to be like that dad?
So he marks the outline on him and then tattoos him using this knife. I'm like, oh my.
Look at that kid in the bottom. You know, when he goes back to school after making this movie, he's got a story to tell.
Mm-hmm. I got a
Yeah, so that's
carved in my chest in blood.
So that's the 2 in the front are Axel and Adam, and then the one in the back, kind of in the middle, is Teo, who plays the pimp that gives cocaine to the Down syndrome kids that are on a
Field trip.
Field trip, yep.
Nice.
Although, anyway, I mean, you got the idea, but they weren't really snorting anything. I don't know what they put up there, but he put something up to their nose, but nothing ever.
If you go back to that one, go back to those pictures before, Jeff, if you can, of the church and everything, them standing in front of the church.
Oh yeah.
That whole scene, I don't know why, but I was laughing my ass off at it when I know it wasn't the Pope, but what do you call it? What was that guy that pulled up?
Bishop.
The bishop
Yeah,
pulls
Bishop,
up.
yeah.
What's wrong, my son? Let's help you. Let's do this peacefully. And by the time he left, he's going, "You bitch! I'm going to kill you!" And everybody, God's going to rain fire.
Unleash the bulldozer.
Yeah, and then, go ahead and tear it down.
Yeah, their patron saint is some girl that got attacked by some thugs that ripped her arms off and raped her.
Yeah,
and that made her a saint, and the bishop wasn't buying it. But that's why they all wear these red robes that have the 2 arms. There's even murals in the church.
Yeah.
That show, first they show him chasing her, then they show her beating her, then they show her laying in a pool with her arms off, and
that's what some of these protesters should do nowadays. If you're going to go protest, just stand out there and bring a mariachi band and have them play in the.
Well, and then they had that pool of blood in there too.
Yeah,
it's paint.
She keeps going. It's the blood of life. The bishop's like, it's paint.
Holy blood.
So a couple of things here that in the bottom there, that choir behind her,
yeah,
that was like a 40-person blind choir.
Which we've never known that. We'd never known
somebody that he ran across that said they're in a choir. Oh, what kind of music do you do? And then he told them to come in. Yeah, well, you don't have to look very hard. If you know it and you look, you can tell because their eyes are.
I guess he wanted to make it extra hard on himself in the direction.
Yeah. Nothing's easy with this guy.
He apparently just walked around Mexico City and just filmed whoever caught his eye. So those were actually like real prostitutes that were in the one scene where they were walking by, and
actually they were so older Phoenix goes out with the Down syndrome kids from wherever he's staying. I don't know what you call that place, but they're on a field trip out, and Teo, who's kind of a pimp hood type, he's got a white t-shirt, pants, and a suspenders, and he's just hip slick and cool, and he's got a boom box, and they're dancing as they go down, and they go in to see the movie Robinson Crusoe, and he intercepts them and takes them away. Well, when they're walking after they do the cocaine and they come out and they're dancing and stuff, and they walk past that row of prostitutes, those prostitutes are all men.
I could tell.
Yeah.
Every one of them. He said there wasn't a woman there. Yeah. So I didn't think much about it till I found that out. Paid a little more attention. The top shot there of the mother, that is when she's really doing the arms thing. Those are Phoenix's arms.
You can just barely see his ear by her nose. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's well done.
Yeah, and she always has something that's got some bulk around her shoulders to kind of hide the transition, but it's very, very good.
Usually feathers. So
Yeah.
it's playing with that whole bird motif.
Yeah.
So when she catches her husband with the tattooed lady, she runs in there, throws a bottle of sulfuric acid on them, apparently not phasing the tattooed lady at all, because when we see her again lately, we don't see any scars, but she dumps it all over her husband's crotch. And he walks her back across the room to the throwing knife board and grabs 2 knives on there and just slices her arms off in one clean
Swoop.
swoop or something. Yeah.
Those are really sharp knives.
Yeah. And apparently he's really strong. That was his thing, I guess, was he was the knife thrower for the circus. And then he walks out into the square, stumbling, completely naked, his crotch all bloody, and he's holding his hand down there. And stops
While
and
the
looks
little
around.
12-year-old mime sits there and wonders what's wrong.
Yeah, walks by young Alma, and who's sitting down waiting because mom locked Phoenix in the caravan, and he sees the sign on the circus de Gringo, and takes his knife and cuts his throat, falls down dead right in front of his son and his
A little traumatic.
trauma.
Yep.
Trauma much.
Thanks,
So
Dad.
that was when I realized from that point on, he's gone, right? Mentally.
Mhm.
He like goes catatonic or something, or thinks he's a bird and is locked up in this place. I don't know how long, but
Well, the other thing that happens here, and it is significant, is that's when the tattooed lady leaves and takes Alma with her.
Yeah.
right.
Because
That's
they
another
run off.
crushing blow. Yep.
Yes.
They climb into their hippie VW van and drive away, and she's in the back window and he's still locked in. And three big traumas. Boom, boom, boom. You're absolutely right. So apparently we don't have any knowledge of what happened, where he's been, until we see him playing the bird. And when they go on that field trip, apparently he bonds with the other kids he's with, and they come back, and the next day he's realized, I don't know, something, that he's not a bird, I guess. Right? I mean,
I got the impression he spotted the tattooed lady.
oh, that too. He did.
Yeah.
He saw her dancing with
Mhm.
somebody. I can't remember if that was somebody that we knew or not, but you're right. You're absolutely right. So the stuff, it's like all ties together, but it's not real obvious. He doesn't come right out and tell you or do any kind of big visual focus on it. It's just these sequences of events you got to kind of put together. All righty. Well, so who do we have? We had Mom. We had
Alma.
Alma, yeah.
So young Alma.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she was the actual daughter or not, but that head, there she is with the black
headpiece. That's a different headpiece in the middle one.
Yeah.
That must be some traditional type of headdress, but
And of course, her scary mime makeup works when we see her older. It's like, yeah, I guess that could be her grown up because now she doesn't have the makeup on at first.
Yeah. So, and there she is older. And she was actually played by a deaf mute actress.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Who really should have done more stuff. I thought she was fantastic in this.
Yeah,
but,
me too.
I guess the roles are not always easy. That top shot's gorgeous. That top shot is
Mm-hmm.
really, I love Dario Argento, at least in that 80s period. I mean, this has got the right color, and it was Claudio Argento helped produce it. I don't know how much Jodorowsky was influenced by Argento or vice versa, but
I feel like he was a little
Mhm.
bit with the colors and everything. A lot of the movie feels like an Argento film visually.
I mean, this is his only out and out horror film.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Claudio Argento working for you. If you're going to make a horror film, you look at who inspires you, and Argento would have been a logical pick to look at, and it certainly worked.
I think
So
the color palette wise and shots like this all remind me of Inferno, particularly from Argento.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is Jodorowsky was he considers himself a surrealist artist, and Inferno actually pulls a lot from some other surrealists for a lot of its imagery too. So there's something underlying there. I don't know.
That would make sense.
Well, it's a pretty vicious scene when the tattooed lady is killed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. He takes all of his vengeance out on her. His mother and father are gone, although he thinks his mother is still there. And he shows up just in time because these 3 drunken soldiers show up at the tattooed lady's room, and she sends the biggest one in to be with her daughter. And the daughter manages, I can't remember exactly what she does, but squirms away, knocks him down or something, and gets away.
She conks him on the head with a bottle or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. She hits him with a bottle. Yep. And just about the time that I think the mother is like, where the hell did you go or something? And he comes in, and we don't know who it is. I mean, the camera doesn't show who it is. We see her react, and then suddenly a thrown knife pierces her, and then he comes over and slits her from stem to stern up the front and the back.
Very Giallo-ish.
It was. I was thinking Giallo.
Stabs her right through the throat. Blood is spraying all over the place. Anyway, and then Alma comes back the next morning and finds her. And I forget what makes her go. When does she see? Oh, she sees that he's going to perform, right, Alma?
She went to see him perform, but wasn't it canceled? The show
It
was
had been canceled, right? Yes.
So she goes to find him. So anyway, so spoilers. It's all a hallucination. His mother's never there. He's actually holding a life-size marionette when he's doing his hand routines, I guess. But see, once he's wakened out of thinking he's a bird, then right away he thinks he hears his mother's voice outside calling him, and she's standing outside with her arms off. So I actually thought, well, that's surprising, but I think, well, it's Jodorowsky. I guess she could have lived, or maybe it doesn't matter if she lived. I didn't pick up on the whole hallucination thing for quite a while. Did you guys get it, or?
No, kind of surprised me. I mean, it didn't shock me, but I didn't see it coming.
I didn't either.
I didn't see it coming.
And then
And I pride myself on being so jaded at horror movies. I can figure
Right.
all most of them out.
And then there's the an interesting character is the I don't know if did we get through all of these? Double check here in a minute. The strongest female wrestler, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't even get what the point of that was, other than
Yeah, that did seem kind of stuck in there. Just like he's like, hey, I used to love watching Santo films, so I'm going to put a wrestler in there.
Yeah.
he did say he put the wrestling scene in because it was Mexico and it was such a big deal. But then having the and
John
I
Cena
looked,
looked good in that role.
well, I looked up the person that they have listed as playing them, and that's their only credit, and it does call them an actress. But it's
Sure,
kind
we'll
of
go with
weird
that.
because
I still say it's John Cena.
big,
You wouldn't
big
say that to his
muscular,
face.
big muscular woman with a big feathered cod piece over where you might see a bulge if there was one. Anyway, quite the interesting thing.
Well, it's interesting story-wise. They kind of tied that in with his thing of where it's like, why me? And the Phoenix is like, because I think you can fight me off. So it's like he's aware of what's going on and what he's doing, and he's trying to prevent it. So, but he's just not capable of it. So.
Yeah.
Well, there's an interesting scene too where he's going to do this. I forget who is he performing for that other stripper, and he's going to change the mummy into
doves, flying doves.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, and his mom comes out.
I think that's
instead.
that's the
wrestler, same scene. Yeah.
Same scene. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because the wrestler's like, what the hell is this?
This is weird, and I'm a pro wrestler.
His armless mother is always in the background going, kill him, stab him.
Listen,
he fights it off when it comes to hell. Anyway, some interesting scenes at the end too, and so
I like the way they did the end when what was the girl's name? Alma.
Yeah.
They opened the door and she has him raise his arms.
Yeah.
And the police have surrounded, and he's raising his arms like giving up for the police. I thought that was just it was a touching ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ending was really touching. So
yeah.
The cop shouts, "Put your arms up," or "Put your hands up," and then he's like,
he does it because
my hand. Because right when he was trying to be invisible, that was because he wanted to merge with his mom, right? Wasn't that the point behind that?
This is as good as mine.
Something like that.
Okay, Jeff.
Sure.
Mr. I saw it 3 times.
Yeah. And I still don't remember some of it. I'm just like going, what?
It's a dense movie. There's a lot going on.
Oh, it is.
So.
And there's not much exposition. There's scenes, but there's nobody explaining what the hell's going on.
No.
You got to just kind of go, oh, Mother didn't have arms. Wait, the saint didn't have arms. Wait, that choir was blind. What's that have? Oh, what about the guy who rips his ear off?
That was random. I mean,
that was a little strange. Yeah.
That was probably someone Jodorowsky sat next to on the bus. It's like, hey, look what I can do. Like, I'm making a movie. Come on.
Actually, that is pretty much exactly
That's
what
pretty
he
close.
said happened.
Really?
Yeah. Even Jodorowsky was like, I really don't know what the scene means, but
That's funny.
Somebody told him about this guy, and I got to go find this guy. So, anyway, that was just he had lost an ear, and that was his prosthetic ear.
Yeah,
I think something about ripping his ear off and shoving it into the mouth of the deaf mute girl.
Maybe she could hear again.
I don't know.
Eat this, you'll feel better.
I'm still going on the elephant. The elephant's bleeding through its trunk.
Yeah, that was sad.
It's spitting blood out.
Yeah.
And then they got this huge coffin. It was really pretty cool looking, I thought. Good old dad is riding his horse in the front, wearing all black and swigging a bottle of either tequila, I think, but maybe vodka. And then they just shove it down a ramp into this big sort of landfill garbage ravine, and all the like ghetto and slum people on the other side go running down to get it. And what did Jodorowsky said? He just told them it was filled with meat. Mm-hmm. That was it.
And it was. There were elephant meat.
Especially when the trunk-like thing comes flying out of there. That was all right. They didn't actually tear an elephant apart, I don't think. I think it was just.
It's hard to say with Jodorowsky.
We will also go with that.
I got, anyway. I think I'm done. What you got? Anything else you guys want to say about this?
No, I really enjoyed it.
I did too. I was surprised myself that I liked it so much.
Like I said, I'm still thinking about it. I think I liked it. There's just so many little things in there. I know there are a couple of things that I noticed that I think he was playing with. Like almost every scene takes place in some sort of a performance venue, whether it's the circus or the burlesque show or the wrestling ring, or even the cult shrine was very performative in the kind of things that it was doing there. The funeral was that same sort of showmanship in the funeral and stuff like that. And then I kept thinking about the significance of Alma herself in this thing, and nothing clicked to me until I saw the interview with Jodorowsky, and he made the comment. Apparently, the name Alma in Spanish means soul, which suddenly everything clicks. When she leaves the circus, he's lost his soul, and then at the end she comes back, he's regained his soul, and it's kind of a redemption. So it's like, oh, this suddenly makes sense now. So but yeah, I liked it. It's going to stick with me for a while.
Yeah.
We did talk about, so Adden and Axel Jodorowsky played the young and older Phoenix. Teo played the pimp, who I loved. I thought he had great. And Jodorowsky said he was kind of hanging out with gangs and stuff, and he knew the streets, and he had the body motions down and everything. And then the two orderlies, one of them was another one of his sons, Brontes Jodorowsky, and the other one, female, was his wife, Brontes' wife, Valerie Cruzet. So, quite a few. And then he was very sad about it too, because his son Teo died in '95 from an accident. He was like 24. And he seemed like he was sort of blocked up about that. He didn't do anything for a while. It just understandably dark.
If anybody does watch it, I hope they watch the movie before listening to the podcast, because it really is a true twist ending, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
Done in a very good way. So
the whole thing is the twist. I mean, it just
yeah. But I mean, it's done well though.
Yeah.
Well, and he said too, because of the circus, they had, like you were saying, Scott, he had clowns around his house and stuff. So the clowns come and play a part in bringing him back to his sanity, kind of.
Yeah, that kind of threw me, because suddenly, like, you haven't seen them since the beginning of the movie. All of a sudden, they're there,
right?
And comforting him, and it's like, wait a minute. So,
okay, well, I should have said that when we said spoilers. I don't know if I did or not. I usually do. Yeah. Watch this movie before you listen.
Too late
I'll try
now.
to put it in the blog, but nobody listens. I
Forget
might be able to
everything
cut
you've
it.
heard.
I
Yeah.
might be able to cut it in.
It's all right. Yeah,
cut
the
it in.
tagline says you'll forget everything you've ever heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Which
yeah,
Jeff
this-
watched it 3 times and he can't even remember half. the
yeah, I'm going to see if I can plug this in. So just let me say this. So this is a spoiler podcast, but you definitely want to watch this movie before you listen to our podcast. So please go do so. If you've already seen it, then sit back and enjoy. Hopefully,
Are you going to edit
right.
that in later?
I might be able to cut it from front.
We're all going to look
back.
like King Kong and after we get edited.
All right. Well, we do have some feedback.
Ooh,
Yeah, baby. Got time for feedback, guys?
sure.
Sure.
All right. We're at people go back there. So episode 237, Poison for the Fairies. Zoangelo. Oh, wait a minute.
The Angel of Death.
The Angel of Death.
Angel of
I
Death.
need you to tell me this. This is the Angel of Death. For Poison for the Fairies, I'm inclined to believe she was a real witch the whole time because it's the perspective of kids. Also, the witch scene at the end removed all doubt that she really was a witch the whole time from the view of Flavia. Whereas before, she didn't believe her no matter how much she got tricked. I think we were, you got that whole unreliable narrator kind of thing, we're seeing through the kid's eyes but yeah, the shadow of her over the cauldron. I think that's a great movie. So who wants to take the next one? Episode 252, Conan from
Oh, yeah, I got
Dallas.
to do this one.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah. Dallas Nostromo, speaking of Conan, says, a few years back, I read Arnold Schwarzenegger's biography, and having a taste for good literature, I also read Ram by Bill Mulligan. There's a man who knows quality literature. Anyway, Arnold mentioned the first time he met Dino De Laurentiis to discuss possibly being cast in the film. De Laurentiis told Schwarzenegger his accent was too thick. Arnold then smart-acidly responded, look who's talking, for which De Laurentiis quickly ended the meeting. Umbrage. Arnold went on to say De Laurentiis eventually cooled off and decided to give him the role, and the two actually got along great from then on. Just thought I'd share that. P.S. Bill, you owe me $5 for promoting your book. Love, Dallas. It's in the mail.
Miss you, Dallas. Man, I hadn't heard of Dallas in a while. His taste in literature.
Well, he gave us that quiz last time on Conan. I think maybe you weren't here back yet.
I wasn't.
What connected Conan and Gremlins?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for the plug, Dallas. Always appreciated.
Bill got the answer, but he had to look it up.
I cheated.
There's a Conan comic book, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
On the kid's bed in Gremlin or something.
Yeah.
All right. Episode 255. Scott, are you seeing these?
I can't see them, no. So I don't know what's going on there, but I'm not seeing them.
Well, there's a drop-down arrow by the feedback, if you see that.
Let me see. Oh, wait.
Toggle them on.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, okay.
All right.
So, Beastmaster?
Yes.
Okay.
From Jerry Chandler.
Jerry Chandler. Hey,
We usually
Jerry.
have Bill do those, but hey.
Hey, why not? Okay. For Bill to explain, there are no bad movies, only bad audiences.
That's the name of a very entertaining book by a very entertaining gentleman named John Dimes, who was a horror host. Worth checking out for sure.
Let's see. Beastmaster is a blast. Well, unless your name was Andre Norton and you were expecting Hostine Storm to show up at some point. Dar? What the hell is a Dar? He doesn't even look like Navajo. I live Beastmaster. I think he means I love Beastmaster. It's a wonderful dark fantasy film that's a nice balance of sword and sandal adventure and dark magic horror.
Well, if you know Jerry, he does live Beastmaster.
Yeah. I think he meant live. That's why I'm going.
Okay, well, whichever way.
Keep going.
The world around Dar is actually pretty fully realized and feels so much bigger than what we saw. but we saw some really wild and horrific things. As a kid, I loved the winged mutant people who would digest you by embracing you in their arms and wings. Unlike Jeff, I thought Mark Singer was perfect for this, although I will agree that it's not his best role. For me, that was If You Could See What I Hear, which is a weird name for a movie unless you know the life story of the guy it is about. Next up, The Sword and the Sorcerer. Jeff will long for the days of Beastmaster.
Yeah, Lee Horsley.
Yeah, I get the feeling that only bad audiences thing might have been somewhat aimed in my direction. Not a Beastmaster fan, but that's okay. I think all of you guys that rave about it, I think you were like around 10 to 15 when you saw it.
I was in high school, yeah, so it was probably around then. So
I was older, but very immature, so it's still.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. All right. Episode 256. House. Chad. One from Dirk Rogers.
Dirk Rogers says, "Welcome back, Chad." Thank you, brother.
There you go.
Dirk is the man. I love Dirk.
Hey, you know what? If you're go find Dirk on Facebook. He posted a bunch of makeup shots. He's in the second season of Interview with a Vampire.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
nice.
And there's a whole bunch of in process and afterwards shots of him that are really cool. All right. Yeah, Dirk. So go ahead with Mikey Z too, Chad. That was pretty short.
All right. Mikey Z says, "I'm with Bill. I too saw too many." Did he say that right? I too saw too many 3D 80s flicks. There's too many numbers in that sentence. I too saw too many 3D 80s flicks. Treasure of the Four Crowns ring a bell. Saw this one. Really?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was one of those Mikey Z. I'm the only one that ever saw this movie yet. Saw this on HBO way back when it wasn't impressed. The movie was uneven to me. Couldn't accept Kat as a Vietnam vet. Might have to see this again. Perhaps like Crystal, my opinion might change. Great to see Chad has fully recovered from taglinitis. How cruel of DOH to subject him to these little promotionalisms right out of the gate. Welcome back, buddy. Thanks, Mike. It was a tough recovery. And I have lawyers working on a law case now to sue DOH for putting me through this. But seeing how as nobody has any money here, I don't know how that's going to turn out.
Bill
thanks
will pay you in copies of Realm.
And he has one last
a
different comment there, but another line there.
Mike Easy also says, and they never mentioned Hugh Laurie's name once.
That's right.
Right.
We don't go for the easy jokes.
That's what I tend to think of. All right. So 257 Spookies from Robert Baker. Scott, you want to take that one?
Sure. Don't feel bad about not ever having noticed this movie before now. I heard of it years ago, but it was nearly impossible to find a copy for a long time. When I did finally watch it, somebody had put it on YouTube, and it was pretty bad VHS rip. When Blu-ray came out, I picked it up because I did remember enjoying all the creatures. Reminded me of Empire Features. Reminded me of an Empire Pictures or Full Moon movie. And if I had seen this when I was about 8 years old, I would probably have run around school the next day telling everybody Spookies was one of the greatest movies ever made. Monsters are great, no matter how bad the surrounding film might be. Most of the time.
True.
Most of the time.
Gotta love monsters.
Yeah.
And just a couple more. One for our last episode that just went live yesterday. Or no, 3 days ago. Episode 258, Just Before Dawn. Jose? Bill?
Sure. Jose says, I've only heard of this one, but not seen it. I'm surprised how many post-Friday the 13th slashers I've missed. You haven't missed much. George Kennedy has one of my favorite, dumbest lines ever in a film. Earthquake, when he keenly observes that, earthquakes just bring out the worst in some people. Really, not his fault. He was just delivering the written dialogue. Yeah, that's a stinker.
Yeah, I always wondered if that was supposed to be written as a joke or if that was a serious line in that movie. I couldn't ever tell the difference. But anyway, speaking of Swarm.
Nobody mentioned Swarm tonight till Chad did. All right.
Yeah, thanks, Chad.
So we also have one on Just Before Dawn from Travis McDonald. He says, great review. Saw this one on the old Paragon video release back in the 80s. Appreciate it, Travis. Also appreciate you making a comment.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's it. There are plenty of ways to stay in touch, so be sure to leave comments. Like you idiots, you spoiled the hell out of this great movie. Or comments you have on Jodorowsky or his other films, or stuff you'd like to see, or experiences you had, stuff we left out, whatever. We'd love to hear from you. Leave your comments on Gruesome Magazine's YouTube channel or the Gruesome Magazine HNR and DOH podcast Facebook group, or you can send an email to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com.
Yeah.
Do it. We love it. We also have Patreon. Normally we give out the Decades of Horror podcast coming out within a day or two when we record them to Patreon members, but like 12 to 14 days after we record them for public release. So you get Decades of Horror first, and Decades of Horror of the 1970s is doing a series on Kolchak, the Night Stalker TV series, one episode per episode, basically. And that is for Patreon members only. So
then they're going in the vault.
I joined Patreon just so I could listen to
those. You're the man. You're the man.
Because Carl Kolchak, my childhood hero. I wanted to be him. So
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
I saw some interview with him where somebody said, a lot of people, I think it was the guy that wrote that book, Scott. Anyways, was talking to Darren McGavin and said a lot of people became reporters because of Carl Kolchak, and McGavin just kind of laughed. Anyway, we're having a lot of fun with that, so check that out. That's it for this episode, but every 2 weeks we'll be focusing on a specific film released between 1980 and 1989. Next up, we tackle one chosen by Crystal, which she managed to send in, even though she couldn't be here. And we will be doing The Boogeyman from 1980.
That's what I am.
John Carradine.
Uli Lamel, I believe, is the
It's now currently streaming on Shudder. So check it out in prep. All right. Catch us again here in another 2 weeks for another great horror movie of the 1980s, as only Decades of Horror can do it. Thanks, as always, Chad and Bill, and special thanks to Scott for
thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Notice.
Thanks for putting up with me. So.
Oh,
really do appreciate it. Oh, no.
Thanks for putting up with us.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure, guys.
All right. Say good night, everybody.
Everyone.
Good night.
Good night.